about the noise, where legends rise. From the clouds to the crowd, this is Crowd, where Africa meets opportunity, where music meets magic.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to another edition of our L&D series. And today we're talking about rights, royalties, and red flags. And we're basically diving into a practical guide to music publishing and entertainment law in Africa. As usual, we talk about the African music business and industry at large in this our series. And today we have a very exciting person. This is an entertainment lawyer and music publisher. It's a strong background in project management and business of music. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about I'm talking about the one, the only, Moteniola Akingbade. How are you feeling today?
Wow. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. I feel so flattered.
Amazing. Thanks for being part of our series today. So, talking about the topic, we're talking about rights, royalties, and red flags, practical guide in music publishing and entertainment law in Africa. So, I don't know if you want to just give us an overview of this topic, things that perhaps would aid us in this conversation.
So, I mean, this is a very important topic, right? Because if you're a creative, if you're an artist, you work within the creative space, right? One thing that works for us is like intellectual property. We do not have physical properties that people come and they buy, right? You can buy books, you can buy anything when you go to the market. But for us who have, or for creators, right, what they have at the end of the day is what they've created. And that is what most of us call intellectual property. That is what the law tries to protect, right? And oftentimes, right, people, I don't know, maybe it's because they feel like they're not buying something that is physical, even though we can't see it. When you look at the Copyright Act, once it's in a fixed form, right, once I'm able to listen or to read something that is already in a fixed form, I kind of see it already as an item. So for creatives, the big question is, how do we ensure that, number one, their rights are protected? Number two, they end from the exploitation of what has been created, right? Because at the end of the day, most of these people, as much as they love what they are doing, right, they should also be able to earn from what they are doing. So that's where like the whole right, protecting what you've created, royalties, earning from what you've created comes in. And of course, in everything that you do, in every business, even in life, right, there are like red flags that you should always try to avoid. And there are also green flags that you can look out for. So yeah, that's just how I see it in general. And Africa is booming, right? And one thing that I'm so happy with in terms of Africa creative industry booming every day is the fact that people are now learning, people are now becoming educated, right? The good thing about copyright and intellectual property as a whole is if you've created something, even if you created it in 1999, right, or in 1970 and you're still alive, right, and now you're educated, you know, oh my God, there are royalties or there are rights that I can explore from what I've created. It's never too late to like go after them. So yeah, that's the beautiful thing about intellectual property and copyright in general.
Thanks so much. That was pretty. I feel like if we end the interview here, I mean, everybody already has full knowledge about the topic, you know. Okay, so I'll just dive into the questions I have here. So, as both a lawyer and publisher, how do you explain the difference between copyright ownership and publishing rights to an upcoming artist who might confuse the two, you know?
So yeah, copyright ownership and publishing rights. Yeah, they're basically two different things. Copyright ownership, right? Like I said at the beginning, when you've created something, right, the most important thing is that it's original and it's in a fixed form. The Copyright Act has certain features, right, that an artist has to take, because an idea alone is not enough. I can have an idea in my head, right, and somebody does the same thing and it's everywhere. I can't start shouting that this person infringed on my right or anything like that, right? Because it isn't exactly in a fixed form. But yeah, once you have established that, okay, I've created something, right, automatically copyright vests in what you've created. you can go the extra mile by like registering and all that. I think for me, the important things that as an artist you have to check, right, is look at your contract, understand if, because this is where the confusion comes in, right? That particular work, is it vested in me? Is the ownership of that work vested in me, or is it vested in someone, in somebody else? If you take a look at the Copyright Act, if, for example, you are hired and you're an employee that is working for an employer, right? In terms of like government agency, it has a list of, groups that it categorizes. I know there's the government, the government agency too, right? Your employment, anything that you do during that period of employment is vested in the employer, right? So if you've created anything during that period, the employer has it, unless, so there's also grace. It says that unless your contract states otherwise. So if, for example, in the contract, right, it states that, oh, what you've created, right, can vest in you, or there's a particular discussion that between you and your employer that is not exhibited in the contract, right, then automatically we can say that as an exception to the general rule. So things like that, and that's why it's important to always ensure that you have a lawyer, because you also have to look at your contract. And then there's also the case of you being, even though the copyright ownership is vested in you, right? There's the thing of assignment, there's the thing of licensing, right? I can assign or I can license my rights. And how will I describe it? When you have created something, there are multiple rights, right? There are multiple benefits. So you can distribute, right? You can publish, you can communicate. We have a lot of them like that. It is possible for me to assign the right to distribute to Mr. A, assign the right to communicate to Mr. B, assign the right to publish to Mr. C, right? Or assign everything to one person. At that point, right? And there's also like duration. You also have to look at duration, terms, right? Am I assigning this for life? Am I licensing it for, or am I assigning this right in perpetuity, or licensing it for 3 4 years? Things like that. Um, I feel like I've said a lot in terms of copyright ownership, but basically, what I'm trying to say is that when you've created a work, right, the work, unless the work that you've created naturally is vested in the author, and the author is the person who creates the work. However, there are certain instances, right, even based off the Copyright Act, whereby this particular work can be assigned or licensed, and it is important for you, before you even start exploring, before you even start exploiting, it's important for you to understand if that work is fully vested in you. So, to sum it up, copyright ownership just simply means the right to explore the right to explore the rights that are vested in the work you've already created. I don't know if I'm making it easy to understand, or if I'm complicating things, because I'm saying a lot and I'm also looking at time so that
It's pretty
I
clear.
wouldn't talk too much. Yes. And then for publishing rights, so as an artist, right, I would like to say that most times when we listen to a particular song, right, that song that we're listening to, or what has been created behind the scene, what do tech bros call it, something I forgot it, but behind the scene, right, that's two, or yeah, a song is made up of like two major things, right, and they are the composition and the sound recording. The composition is also referred to as publishing, and the sound recording is also referred to as like the masters. Now, I'm trying to remember your question in regards to the composition. Let me see. Yes, publishing rights. Yes. So now, in terms of the sound recording and the masters, right? Your sound recording and masters, most times you have instances whereby it belongs to like a record label and all that. But your publishing right is something that you can explore as a result of you being a composer on that song. To give you a good example, if I write a song, right, or I've created the beat for the song, I produced a particular song, right? What I can explore for being a part of or creating that particular song, either by writing or producing, right, is my composition, and that is my publishing rights. So I have rights from being able to like take part in the creation of what everybody is listening to. A simpler way to elaborate on this is if you're cooking soup, right? The ingredients that you put, your Maggi, your sauce, everything, that is basically the composition. The final soup, if it's egusi soup that everybody eats at the end of the day, is the sound recording, aka the masters, right? Now, everybody who has put the different ingredients inside that soup, right? They have like rights that they can explore. And part of examples of like those rights that they can explore for being part of the people who were putting the ingredients are synchronization rights, right? So if, for example, somebody wants to license the final song, let's call this song Bread, which is a terrible title for a song, but let's call the song Bread, right? They want to license the song Bread. Now, I put the ingredient of songwriting. I was the one that wrote that song. Because I have been part of that, right? My right is invested in a particular song. So for anybody to license that song to use in their film, they would have to clear, right? They would have to clear with me. They would have to request for my permission to go ahead to use that song. So it is important that because most times artists normally neglect their publishing rights, right? They are mostly focused on most times their masters. And the thing is that you also earn. And in order for you to earn from the composition, right, for being part of the people who put in the ingredients to make that soap, you basically have to register your songs, right? You have to belong to a CMO or have a publisher. So that's where people like me come in, right, to ensure that whatever royalties are being generated, right, as a result of one's composition or being involved in creating the song, right, is actually being given to them and they all actually earn their royalties. So yeah, I think that sums it up, even though I feel like I said a lot. I don't know if I'm confusing you
No, no.
guys, but
While you were talking about a few things, you pointed out a few things that artists should actually look out for when they are
yeah.
signed. Although I think I want to like I just want us to like run some bullet points. And so, what particular things exactly should artists look out for when they're signing contracts? Those clauses that they have to focus on, and oh, this is not going
Yeah.
good.
So I will talk about when you're signing a publishing deal, right? So now you understand that you can earn from both the composition, right, and the you can earn from the composition and the sound recording, right? So now you're trying to enter into a publishing deal to secure you earning from your composition. Some of the things that you have to look at is what type of publishing deal is it, right? The type of publishing deal that you're entering determines the clauses that you will look at. So we have like sub-publishing deal, we have administrative deals. These are like the two major types of publishing deals that we have. And when you're looking at these deals, you can one of some of the clauses that you need to look at are the duration of the publishing contract. So in terms of duration, how long, right, would the contract last? What's the term of the contract? Most times you have like the main term, which can be 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, depending on your lawyer's ability to like negotiate the term, and also depending on what exactly you are trying to benefit, what the publishing company is offering. We also have the retention period. So basically, a retention period is after the main term, right? Let's imagine that the main term is 5 years. A retention period can be for 10 years and it takes effect after, sorry, a retention period can be for 2 or 3 years and it takes effect after the main duration of or the main term has come to an end. It basically allows like the publishing company, right, to continue to administer the songs that they are managing for you. But once the main term ends, you can enter into a publishing deal with another company. However, because the other company, the first publishing company that you were with, are basically retaining the songs that you like assigned to them to manage on your behalf, right? This new company that you're signing with wouldn't be able to administer like your old songs. They can only administer your new songs. So things like that, looking at your retention period is also something that you have to consider. Because if your retention period is quite like, especially if you're not an upcoming artist, you're like a blown artist, right? If your retention period is for a long period and another company comes with a better offer, a better deal on the table, right? They might be a bit reluctant, right, to have you on board because this music industry is a thing of nobody knows when a particular song will blow. So, for example, take a look at Skills and Shake Body, right? If Skill signed to me or my publishing company when he released Shake Body, right, and I'm still the retention period still spans to this year, 2025, I would my the publishing company would continue to administer, right, and get their own percentage from that. So any new publishing company that is coming on board will not be able to administer the catalog for Shake Body till the retention period is over. So yeah, look at the duration. Another thing that you would want to look at is the percentage being assigned to you as an artist. So for an administrative deal, basically an administrative deal simply means that the publishers are managing your catalog, they're ensuring that your metadata is accurate, they are registering your songs, they're ensuring that they are tracking your royalties and everything is done. They don't like go over the what's the word? They don't go beyond and above and beyond for you because you are two different things. The percentage that a publisher will be taking for a co-publishing deal will obviously be higher than what they would be taking for an administrative deal. So in an administrative deal you can see a situation whereby an artist is having 90% thereabout. However, in a co-publishing deal you can see an artist with like 70% and the remaining percent for the publishing company. Also, in certain situations, you see a co-publishing company whereby an advance is being given to the artist. However, if it's an administrative publishing deal, no advance for you. What else? Also, the territory is something that you need to look at, right? We have instances whereby, especially for like big artists, there can be a case whereby they have a particular publishing company managing their catalog and administrating their publishing in Africa, and a different publishing company administrating it in Europe. But there are also certain instances whereby they just have one publishing company administrating it generally, like for the whole world. So your lawyer is in the best position, or your publisher is in the best position to decide, okay, do we want them to administer it like for the whole world or for a particular territory? For most upcoming artists, they don't have the leverage to negotiate for, or let them just do Europe alone. And another thing is that if the publishing company can actually administer or manage your catalog and the territories for the whole world, and they can do that, then there's no issue with that. So yeah, I think these are certain things that they need to, or certain clauses that they need to look out for in a publishing deal. You can also check like your termination clause, and if there's like an arbitration clause, what happens in terms of breach and all that. So yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So, how can they, start earning royalties from their music? Do you want like what was? I mean, for people that are trying to like do these things themselves
Yeah,
locally.
if you're trying to, so that's the thing, right? Working as a publisher, I'm really surprised at the fact that most people are not aware of publishing. How I see publishing is how we normally see investment, right? Ensuring that you're buying shares and you're just trying to invest, because publishing sometimes is not like quick money. It's not something that you just have 10 million naira today on your table, right? It's a gradual thing, and it's something that can feed you and your family. So why don't you do that? Why don't you sort out your publishing, right? I know that most artists are always just looking at, oh, what can we collect? What's the advance for my masters? Or what am I getting from this record label? And they are not looking at their publishing. But it is important that you do that so that you can earn, even if it's like a gradual thing. So the first and the major thing, right, is you have to register your songs. If you do not register your songs, right, you cannot earn royalties from your publishing. And in order for you to register your songs, right, you can register your songs with any CMO, whether SASM, ASCAP, BMI, any CMO. However, it is important that you get a publisher to help you register your songs. There are some people that are self-published, right? If you feel like, oh, I rather just self-publish, I can do this by myself, I would use places or yeah, places like Songtrust and all that, then you can go ahead to do it. But by using a publisher, right, you know that okay, everything is being done properly. My metadata, when I say metadata, for you to actually register your song and register it properly and ensure that you're earning royalties, the data that you fill in has to be accurate, right? You have to also ensure that your document, right, everything is put in place, your split sheet is properly arranged, right, properly signed by every party, right? It's a discussion that you need to have. There are some artists that have been creating songs since they gave birth to me, and they don't even have one split sheet. But like I said, the good thing is that it's never too late to register, right? Even though, because what they often ask is, oh my god, I've been making music since 2000, this is 2025, that means I should be like a millionaire at this point. So the thing is, if you don't register your song and claim your royalties, it enters what we call the black box, right? And once it enters that black box, you're not getting it, because basically what happens is that the royalties is then shared with big publishing companies, and these big publishing companies can give it to big artists. So your money can, or your royalties can be benefiting people like Drake or whiskey and all that, because you did not register when you needed to register. However, if you've been making music, like I said, since 2010 or 2000, right, it still doesn't like mean the end of the world, because you can register now and you get to see your songs do well. And that's why I will keep on giving the example of Skills and Shake Body. Or now that we have people doing a lot of sampling and interpolation, see a good example with Time Song and how she interpolated or sampled Love Me Jeje, right? The writers who wrote that song back in the days would obviously be getting their royalties now. So bullet points: ensure that your song is ensure that you register your songs, ensure that you have a active CMO that you're a member of, so that you can have your IPI, because for you to register your song you actually need your IPI. Ensure that your books are in order, you have your split sheet, your metadata is accurate, right? Not that what you have on your split sheet, your name differs from what we are seeing on the songs and all that. I think with these like four major steps, you can then register your song. Also have either a publisher or you self-publish. And if you're self-publishing, you have to do a lot of research by yourself so that you can register your songs and get the or be able to collect your royalties. And another important thing is that they don't like you don't collect your royalties every day. It can be a thing of quarterly. So you have to, when looking at your contract, also understand, is it something that I'm going to be getting quarterly, right? How do the particular publishers collect from the CMO, and when will the royalties get to me? So yeah, that's basically it.
Oh, thank you so much. That was really wide. That was really
Really.
wide. So, you know, there's something about this whole publishing thing. I think this is even a question that's off the list that I had previously. So, does it work like the normal distribution arrangements where you're like, uploading the details, the metadata? The reason I'm asking this question is for those that particularly have no idea about it. It goes the same way you submit your documents as you submit it under the distribution, or it has a separate arrangement entirely.
Distribution is one thing, right? You do your distribution however you want it with your distro company and whatever they offer you, whatever they tell you. Publishing is another thing, right? So, what, for example, what I do with people who I register their songs or my clients who we work with is the first things first, and this is what I always cry to them is if anybody comes to you and they say, oh, I want you to, oh, I want you to like produce a song for me, or I want you to be a songwriter on this song, or I want you to give me a verse, right? As you're negotiating, as you and your lawyers are focusing on negotiating your money or how much they'll pay you or your master's percentage, another thing that we need to do is from the beginning, when you guys start having that conversation, please put me as the publisher in loop so that we can request for the split sheet. Because one thing I've noticed with Nigerian, well, not even Nigerian, African artists, because I've also like had to work with artists outside Africa is that they don't like documenting. Creatives in general, they don't like paper and pen. They don't like, they just want to like sit there in front of their laptop and create whatever they want to create. So I always tell them it's important you put me in the loop, right? Before that song goes live, let us have a signed split sheet. Because what happens is that I have been in a situation whereby I have chased a split sheet for over 1 year, right? And I haven't gotten it. I'm still chasing it. Most times, I don't know if it's like they don't understand what it is or they change management, etc. And without like me having that split sheet, right? Or then even if they, because it has gotten to a point where I'm like, okay, if the main artist of the song writes and his team are ready to create this split sheet, I'll create this split sheet, let them just sign, right? Even to get them to sign has been an issue. And without that split sheet, we can't accurately register your song so that you would then get royalties and all. And before even, I think I skipped a bit, before even chasing the split sheets, the first thing that I normally ask artists that I work with is, are you registered with any CMO, right? BMI, ASCAP, SASTEM, are you registered with any of them? Do you have an IPI? Right? Some of them have IPIs, but they've never registered any of their songs. And that is fine. At least one step has been solved, which is that you have registered, right, with a particular organization and you have your IPI. However, if you've not registered with an organization and you don't have your IPI, right, that is the first thing that needs to be done. Because what the IPI helps, like the organization, do is to track your royalties and be able to get it. So once that is done, the next step is now ensuring that the proper documents are gotten, right? The proper split sheet, everything. Once we have the split sheet, the next step is then registering that song, right? Speaking from my own end as a publisher, for me to register that song, if I'm using SASM, right, I fill in the adequate documents I need to fill in. I communicate with their team and register it or upload it on their website or send an email. So that's the thing with us publishers. Most times, we are affiliated with, or we have like CMOs that we are affiliated with, and it's easy for us to just send them email requiring that we need to register a particular song because we already have the necessary details. They don't need you to upload, because with distro you need to upload particular files, all those things. What they need is to see like the split sheet and the list split sheet, and if they have their own form, for that form to be accurately filled. So most times what you see on that form is the name of the author or the composer, right? The date the song was released, a space for signatures, and the duration of the song. So yeah, that's just it. For people who self-publish, their own route is a longer route, or well, not longer, but not as straightforward as I'm making it seem right now.
Thank you so much. I think that's
So,
very illuminating. Okay, so finally, I mean, we've had a very long run. We've been able to dive into this, and I think it's only right to ask this question. So how do African creators protect their catalogs from being undervalued and exploited, especially in international publishing deals?
I mean, I wouldn't even say especially international publishing deals, even starting with ourselves, because we can be wicked to each other, right? And like I said, the good thing is that in this day and age, we have people trying to learn more, people trying to educate themselves, right? Artist managers, so that they wouldn't take the wrong step. I feel like if you're an artist or a young creative, right, and you aren't taking the extra steps either by reading or having a lawyer. And when I say having a lawyer, right, it's not just any type of lawyer. You can't just carry like a litigation lawyer that has experience with entertainment and say, oh, this is my lawyer. And we have a lot of people who on the internet, because I always try to think of like the artists who don't exactly have and they are trying to start, right? Especially in our industry, that everybody is like, oh, this is a tight knit industry, is every man for themselves. But one thing that I'm beginning to see is that there are opportunities for you to learn things like this that we're doing, right? If you're an artist, you might not be able to like hire a lawyer. You might not know what, maybe you've never even heard of publishing, but you get to listen to a session like this and okay, yeah, there's something called publishing. Let me go and see what I can do with my own life On Twitter, we have people doing space, we have people doing write-up that you can read on LinkedIn, etc. So yeah, basically, I don't think there's any excuse for any artist to, be freeballing life at this point. How I think the question was, how do they protect themselves? What was it again?
Yes, we're saying that how could they protect their catalogs from being undervalued and
Yeah.
it's,
So
you know,
try your best. It might seem like they offer me money now. Like, let me just collect this money, right? Try your best not to assign your catalog away, right? It's something that can benefit you in the long, long run. We've seen, especially with the age of social media, TikTok, we've seen people who created songs that they probably even forgot, like they've moved on, they're not even doing music again. And all of a sudden, everybody's listening to their songs around the world. Their masters might not be with them because back then they made the mistake of signing with a record label that took everything from them or entering into like a 360 deal and all that. But oftentimes, right, as an author, right, your composition right is vested in you, unless you make that mistake of assigning it away. And the good thing is that if you do own your publishing, right, it can be when you're 50, when you're 60, when you're 70. We've seen it with people like Michael Jackson, a lot of like major artists at the end of the day selling their catalog for a particular amount of money or licensing it for a particular period of time for a very large sum of money. So for the young artist, right, what I would advise them to do is for now, ensure that your songs are registered so that you can be earning small, right? Ensure that your songs are registered. Ensure that whatever you're doing, nobody is touching your publishing because it's like how everybody has savings. We have money that we can still play around, but there's always that account that you don't want to touch because it's like your retirement money or your savings system. This is how you should see your publishing. So yeah, that's my advice to them. So if it's an international company or a company within Nigeria, whoever they are, they shouldn't touch you. They shouldn't touch your publishing. And always try to ensure that when you're negotiating percentage, you always have the higher percentage because there's also the case of you can't just say, "Oh, I want 100%." It wouldn't work like that. So you would have to let go of a particular percentage. But always just make sure that you have the higher percentage.
all right, thank you so much. That was really, really use the word exciting a lot because today was really exciting. Okay, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Teniola Akingbade and
Moteniola.
Moteniola Akingbade, right? And then we talked about royalties and the red flags. I mean, so we've touched a lot of things. We talked about, getting a lawyer first off, which is really pivotal and important in the industry. And we talked about, in fact, allowing your lawyers to do the work where you're going through every of the term, every of the clause. And if you can't, afford a lawyer, you do it yourself, you do research and learn about how the system works. And we also talked about, the various kinds of arrangements for the licensings and deals that come with publishing rights, publishing right generally. Just recapping for those that must have missed the things we've said. And also, we're talking about how Africa is, evolving, and the industry. We're getting to interact with a lot of international organizations and publishing industries too. So it's really important to do the groundwork. It's really important to work hand in hand with your lawyer. So no lawyer. No, I was going to drop the bad here, but I mean,
Please drop
reserve
this.
that for the
Maybe
lawyers.
I'll use it.
Okay, what did you say?
I said, please drop the bar. Maybe I'll use it
Sorry.
like another day.
No. I mean, you were called to the bar, so I feel like I'm doing that. All right, so I was going to say something. Yeah, so this is Crowd Africa once again, and every of our series we talk about issues in the music industry. We educate on different roles that professionals play, and you can always follow us on our socials on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok as well. This is Crowd Africa, and then if you have questions, you can send them across us. We'll get it to Moteniola and send you the answers to your various questions. So it was an amazing experience, an amazing conversation with you, Moteniola. Thank you so much for your time. We hope to see you at the top. See you again, right?
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was lovely, like connecting and talking on this topic. Like you said, if there are any questions, I'm always happy to help. Yeah.
I don't know if you have any final words. I mean, Words of
I mean, please, right? You probably wouldn't hear it any but please. Always ensure, like I said, that as an artist, you're reading, you're educating yourself, right? Even if you have a manager, you might even be the one telling your manager, like, oh, well, have you heard about this publishing thing? And see, as an independent artist, an artist in a record label, wherever you are, ensure that you are registered, right? You have your IPI number, and any song you release, whether it has just 50 listeners on Spotify, right? Please ensure that you register that song, because the song with 50 listeners on Spotify can have 50 million listeners on Spotify before the end of the year. So yeah, that's just it.
all right. Thank you so much.